Okay, sorry about that. My iPad died, so the recording stopped. Um, but yeah, so basically, I was just saying that if the atoms with a life force, if the atoms with a life force had different instructions, our science wouldn't be able to prove it because our science wouldn't make sense for this. That's why when you think about how um, the ancient Egyptians, claimed, the Kemetic people claimed and wrote numerous stories about these basically alien beings. Not because they described them as alien, but they did describe them as looking different. They did describe them as these alternate beings, telling them they didn't come from here, telling them that they came from somewhere else, another planet, the planet's name being something like Nibiru or something like that. They talk about how these foreign alien people taught them certain things. And when you think about that, ancient Egypt was, again, this was the original civilization. So they may have had personalities and stuff. They had instruction of personalities, but what if the instruction of these aliens or alternate beings made them smarter? And by smarter, just different, right? Just different. Because if the basic human brain capacity, I don't know, whatever, stops here, for our science, we have no idea what their science looks like. We have no idea what they're capable of. Just because they're 3D, just because they're on our frequency, so just because we can see them, that doesn't mean that they're like us. That just means we can see them, right? So these ancient people talk about them. They talk about the Anunnaki coming. They talk about the Anunnaki giving them knowledge, teaching them things. You think about how the ancient Egyptians built pyramids, even the Aztec people. Like, you just think about how these original civilizations were able to do some of the stuff they did. What if that was because these guys told them? What if these guys showed them? Because these guys were different. Maybe not better, right? Better is subjective. But they're just different. They knew how to do something different, or they had the ability to do something different. If you want to get biblical, the book of Enoch, the Anunnakis, a different species. What happens when this species, if it's capable, because some forms of matter are allowed to recreate together, procreate together, right? Not everything, but some things can. What if an alien species procreated with our species? We got giants. You know, the Nephilim children. Enoch talks about the fallen angels. Fallen angels? What if those are really just aliens in their little special spaceships? They're not fallen angels, but they don't know what to call them. So they're gods. Think about this. You're a primitive thing up on your planet, on your planet, looking at the sky that you look at all the time. Suddenly, a star starts getting closer and closer and closer. It's not a star at all. It's a ship, but you don't know that. It's just something that's light. It has a lot of light. And then come different kinds of beings. And they know how to communicate with you. They seem to be smarter than you. They have a lot of intellect. They can tell you things about the process that maybe you don't know, because they're just different from us. So they would call these people gods. They would. They don't know what else to call them. They called the planets gods, right? They knew these gods. They said these gods up here is doing real work. They don't know if this guy is doing real work or not. They don't know. They just assumed. The Anunnaki were different. So who knows what the Anunnaki showed them in totality? Obviously, if you think about Egypt, if you think about how far advanced Kemet was, if you think about how far advanced Samaritan was, the Samaritans, if you think about how far advanced the Samaritans were, well, maybe these guys taught them. I'm not saying it's real or fake. I'm saying their story could check out. I don't know. Really, not really a way to tell. And then also, their story for the Anunnaki is the people came, stayed for a while, taught a lot of different things. Something that I also want to point out is this is our divine order, right? And we all have heard the biblical story of when humanity all spoke one language, right? Humanity. So we're talking about Homo sapiens. We're talking about a particular type of monkey. All these particular type of monkeys, they had the same language. Makes sense. Tigers have the same language. Lions have the same language. Elephants can speak to each other. Monkeys speak to each other. So we spoke to each other. We all know that story, but what do we say? The story goes, the biblical story, that the humans, and having so much like-mindedness, started building a tower to the heavens. Because they were on one accord. They started building a tower to the heavens. That was language. So imagine, if this is who we are in the beginning, and so we can only speak to each other in the way that we speak to each other, where might this story come from? Where might we get an idea to try to get to space? Maybe these guys. These guys came from space. These guys did it. And if these guys, who are all like-minded, and they all are the same, and they got up there, maybe we can too. Maybe we can get up there too. We also know that the story goes that God, but if you think about it from the Samaritan story, because they called the aliens, the Anunnaki, they called them gods. The story goes that God saw that we were trying to build a tower to the heavens. I can't even imagine what this looked like, but you can picture a giant pyramid, because that looks like a tower to the heavens. God, or these gods, saw that these people were trying to build a tower to the heavens. If you read up on your Anunnaki history, which you don't have to do, that's not a necessity, but if there's somebody that's interested, if you read into that, you'll find out that the Anunnaki, what they were doing with this, what they considered stupider race, with these animals, these primates, they were enslaving them. We were enslaved. The humans were becoming workhorses for the Anunnaki because our planet, our system, had a particular resource, which was gold. And gold is something that they wanted. I can break that down for you, but in the short story version is that basically if you heat up gold to a certain degree, it'll disappear entirely. And then when you cool it back down to a certain degree, it'll literally reappear. So what's happening to that gold? Frequency. Gold is changing frequency. And so today, the scientists that look into this thought, they theorize that because they theorized that perhaps the aliens that were basically enslaving this dumber race to dig up gold was because the Anunnaki wanted to switch frequencies. What does that sound like? The Anunnaki wanted to switch frequencies. The Anunnaki wanted to ascend in their own version. Right? Similar to us. Makes sense. Makes sense. Because they're on the 3D frequency, so they have a similar instruction. So that makes sense. 3D frequency, they have a similar instruction. So they want to ascend too. They said, we want to change frequencies. We want to change frequencies. So, as the story goes, the Egyptian story goes, not the Egyptian story, the biblical story goes, the Tower of Babylon. These primitive people are building this tower because they're all on one accord, they're all communicating, they're all building a tower to try to get to heaven, probably because they saw them do it, probably because they saw them come from heaven. So they want to be like them. They want to go change frequencies, ascend. What happened? God, as the story goes, God changed the languages, gave everybody different languages. Now, why would he do that? That's not a part of his plan. No other animal has different languages, just us. Probably not him. Probably not God. Probably these gods. Probably these gods said, we need y'all to keep being our slaves so we can keep doing what we're doing. So let me teach you other things. And they separated us, separated humanity into different cultures with different languages, so that humanity would not be on one accord. And if humanity's not on one accord, we'll never ascend, we'll never be able to change frequencies. If humanity's not on one accord, we'll never be able to escape the burning of Earth. I mean, I don't know if an alien would really care about another alien ascending or not. I think it was just more so that they just want to do what they want to do. I don't think it was more so that these aliens even cared about if one day us humans became like them, or were able to be cool, or whatever special things you can do with different frequencies. Maybe the aliens just like, we don't care what y'all do afterwards. We just know we're trying to ascend, and once we're done doing our plan, we'll leave you alone. And that's what happened. So what happened? As the story goes, the Egyptian story, the story of the Anunnaki, as the story goes, one day the Anunnaki said, oh, our planet, time has gone by, and our home planet has circled back around. Make sure I'm still recording. You see what I'm saying? I know I keep moving it around this time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure everything's in frame. But yeah, as the story goes, the Egyptians say that the gods, the foreign gods, these gods, so they were talking about the aliens. The aliens told the Samaritans, the humans, these special monkeys, after they've ran their little science experiments to be able to. Did I tell y'all? So here's another thing. Scientists have even been able to check that certain people's blood, blood or DNA, yeah, something like that. Certain people's blood or DNA, certain people's makeup, genetic makeup, has a variant, a formula of something that they have never been able to explain. Scientists know this. What is it, Rh negative? Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. Somebody look that up and remind me. Certain people have this particular genetic makeup inside their genes. They test their blood. They found out certain people have this, but not everybody. Not everybody. Now, you want to really break down that story. The people that have that genetic makeup, they feel like that came from these guys. They feel like those people with that genetic makeup, they're descendants of the Nephilim. They're descendants of giants. They're descendants of they are the descendants of the Anunnaki, inserting their knowledge, their being, mating with us, regular humans. Those are those descendants. That's why part of their genetic makeup can't be explained. Literally, the scientists call it an alien code or something because they don't know what it is. They can't explain it. There's nothing else on our planet that resembles that DNA. They have no idea where it came from. No idea. They can connect a bird to a dinosaur, but they can't find out where that came from in some of these people's DNA. Just a theory, but maybe those are the Anunnakis. Maybe they're children of the Anunnaki and our race mixed descendants. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. You know? But it's when all of these stories exist. And why? Why do these stories exist? Why in the ancient times was this becoming a realization at the same time as pyramids being made, at the same time as Thoth having these visions, at the same time of the whole Samaritan community experiencing aliens? at the same time of the Tower of Babylon, and then suddenly a whole species speaks different languages, has different cultures. Why? These are all stories that existed. So perhaps that's true. Perhaps. Perhaps in the beginning, not this beginning, but perhaps early earlier in civilization, aliens did come and do the things that the Samaritans said they did. Maybe. So I think the next thing I want to hit on is just the dimensions real quick. So yeah, if we get back to this, if we get back to the sun, right? If we get back to God, creating elements, matter, giving them energy, an energy force, a life force. If we go back to the potential of there being multiple solar systems, multiple sun systems, that's what that is, multiple systems, then there could be a replication of this, a whole nother set of this, a variant of this, aliens, right? Aliens. Or, when we get here, in here, these two, sun and moon, maybe not even in here. We could just say here, period. We don't know, because that's where we get lost. This is us. This is 3D dimensional. This is, see? This is what makes the 3D. So if God did this, if God in created matter, what if not just making other 3D things, because this is how we explain our literal, this is the science that proves our 3D dimension. This is the science that has created our frequency. Who's to say that we'll just say that multiple other frequencies weren't made at this step? Who's to say that? Fourth. I'm really trying not to get my hand on this thing, so 6. 4, 5, 6. That looks bad. But anyways, you understand what I'm trying to say. Who's to say? Who's to say? This is the science for 3D. And people have already, not just even ancient people. Today, people still talk about other 3D things that don't match us. They don't match our direction, our instruction. They don't match our thought, aka our personalities, our abilities. They don't match us. So enough people believe in that. We get into other dimensions, we get here. What if God made something different? If God made something different, maybe something that had a different kind of energy. Maybe the physical manifestation of these other things wasn't a sun. Or if it was a sun, maybe it's a bigger sun or a smaller sun. And if it's a bigger sun or a smaller sun, maybe they have a different frequency. We don't know. Or maybe, again, the physical manifestation of energy, life, light, for a whole other set, a whole other 4th, 5th, 6th dimension, is not a sun. What if it's something called, I don't know, let's call it a blah blah. If the elements were given a blah blah energy, a blah blah life force, perhaps they vibrated, which is the frequency, on a different dimension. So we can't see it. Just like the theory, that's not even a theory, just like it's been proven about gold. When you melt gold, it literally gets so hot it disappears. You burn gold to a certain degree, it gets so hot, it will literally disappear to the naked eye. Disappear, just go. But the elements are still close enough that if you cool it right down at the right time, it comes back. It's crazy. So, who's to say other dimensions really don't exist? Who's to say that? Who's to say the Anunnaki never came back, never visit us again, because they got enough gold to ascend to a different dimension? There's stuff you gotta think about. You don't have to. It may not be something, it may not be in your personality, right? It may not be your instinct to think about these things. But if you're here, if you're here, you probably thought about it. So food for thought. Food for thought. I think that's everything I want to hit. Explain the different cultures or language, or the potential story that happened there. Because every human has the capability of speaking the same language. We just don't. And the reason why every human doesn't speak the same language, if we all came from one place, doesn't make any sense. When the English people came to America, they didn't start speaking a whole different language. They just spoke English. Sounded a little different, but it was still English. You know what I mean? So for people coming from one whole side of the world, and suddenly everybody just starts changing their language, I wouldn't just call that different dialects. I wouldn't just say that, oh, we're up in the north, we're really cold, so if we're really cold, our lips are freezing, so we much rather say this word instead of that word. That word's too long. Something tells me that nobody had the time to be creating a whole different language when you're trying to survive in these primitive times. So this doesn't seem like such a far-fetched idea, that something else came and taught different languages on us, forced different languages on us to keep us from being like them, to keep us from going to the heavens, to keep us from copying them, because they had a mission and they wanted the mission to be fulfilled. And then they said bye to us. The Samaritans remember this. The Anunnaki said bye. And they said they would come back when their planet circled back around. when the time came, they said they'd come back. Now, whether or not they will, we don't know. Whether or not this is even real, we don't know. What if their light battery burned up and they are in a different dimension, or they've changed into something else? We don't know. This is the thought. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. That's really all I have. Nothing else. Tried to break it down as best I could. Everybody's spiritual out there. You can pretty much tie every spiritual thing back to this. Religion, it's literally it's all the same. Mythology, mythology is just variations, different names for the same systems. Religion, the same systems, minor changes, which stuff that makes sense. Stuff that if people were going to separate from the original civilization, they would change minor things. That's why the basic story stays the same. God, Father, Son, Mother. That's why the story basically stays the same, because it's the original. So for these people to disperse and hold on to the original religion, why not hold on to the original language? Why would you not hold on to the original language, but you held on to the original religion? I would say something told you not to. So spiritually, for all you spiritual people that talk about listening to certain frequencies for positivity, that's true, that's a thing. Certain frequencies do affect your instructions differently, because frequencies vibrate. And the vibration even has an instruction, so they can make you feel a certain way. Crystals, people that believe in crystals, just like plants, have life. It's just a rock with life. Everything has life. Everything is given life. Crystals have life. There's instruction. You're a thing with life. Your instruction is to be a rock. What kind of rock? That's where we get crystals. You're this kind of rock, according to the way the planets are, according to the time. So you behave this way. Everything falls in here. Don't be mean or rude to people that are different from you. You're supposed to be that way. That's perfect order to God. Everybody being different, that's perfect. God wanted that. The people that are supposed to be the same, they were born around the same times. People that are supposed to be the same were born around the same times. They'll be the same. People that are supposed to be different, they're born around different times. They'll be different. All of that's perfect. Perfect. Hmm. Um, I really also want to hit home on the personality thing because if you even look at like African spirituality, if you think about Orishas, um, certain positions in the sky associates it with like Shango based on the position of certain things because they knew that this when we can see this planet we get a lot of rain, we get a lot of thunder. So the thunder's over here, the lightning's over there. Well, actually, the thunder and lightning are over here, and then Venus is hanging out over here, so that person is a lover, a thundery person who's a lover with male energy just being really a scientific name, a scientific explanation for how things interact. Same with femininity. Femininity is just a scientific explanation for how things act. So this planet here, these planets are here, Mars is here, Venus was there. Make a thundery, fiery, leadery person who's very loving, very good with the ladies. And it's a male. The energy's male because this is mostly a masculine not constellation, a masculine, because it's not just the stars. It would be like call it a formula. So it's a masculine formula. The Orisha noticed this kind of person comes around, this kind of energy comes around all the time. We call that energy Shango. We call that energy Hercules. We call that energy Jesus Christ. These are just the names of energy. Cupid, just the energy of a lot of love. When Venus comes around and interacts with this other planet that way, we get people with a lot of love. That's Cupid. Okay? Personalities and behaviors are just direct extensions of the placements of the placements of planets, just direct extensions of energy. The energy of the year is love. This person was born during a very loving season. They have a lot of Cupid energy, a lot of Aphrodite energy, a lot of Shango energy. And so that makes their personality in totality. I'm not able to break the personalities and the facial features, all those similarities down the way I've heard other astrologists do it because they obviously know way more about astrology than I do, so they can actually use the correct verbiage, the correct placement. They can really show you like a diagram of an actual person's personality and how it came to be. They'll be able to show you that. I can't really say, if you put Mars here and Venus there, you'll get, Aphrodite. I can't really say that because I actually don't know astrology to that extent. You listen to people that really know astrology to that extent, they can tell you that. So that's how you get personalities. So every lion is born into the cat category, and instead of being a tiger or a house cat, it becomes a lion. There's different instructions, and even in being a lion, it has a certain personality, has certain features. If it has these features, it becomes a boy lion. If it has those features, it becomes a girl lion, according to the variant orders. So now we have a male lion who is lazy. Or now we have a male lion who is playful. Now we have a male lion who is very serious. Animals have personalities, just like us. Everything has order. These are orders. Your personality is just your orders. Everybody has an order. Everything has orders. Some, probably, in our opinion, more complex than others. Now, there was this other thing. If you think about the people that are heavy into the psychedelics, like McKenna, what's that guy's name? Something McKenna. I don't know why I can't think of his name. But that guy, he talks about how eating the mushroom life force gives us consciousness. And what I say to that is not that I wouldn't say that eating the mushroom life force gives us consciousness and created our personalities and humanities. I wouldn't say that at all, because two people can eat the same mushroom and still behave differently. So the mushrooms, obviously, who have the same instruction, aren't giving you the same thing. I think what it is that mushrooms and other psychedelics have their own instructions, and some of those instructions are probably just as complex as ours. And so when we eat them, we just have a little moment of feeling what they felt, seeing what they see, how they see the world, how they process things they know. But they didn't give us consciousness, they didn't give us a personality, they didn't give us our facial features. We already had that. They just enhanced it, changed it, played around with it for a little bit, and then it fades off. And when it fades off, you go back to who you are. I hope you enjoyed this.